colegi.
Dear colleagues, thanks for coming back. So we are almost as many as we were in the morning, and we will continue our today's conference about 3D surveying, and I'm really pleased to announce the next speaker, our guest from Norway, from the Museum of Cultural History, the Viking Ship Museum, and he will tell us about his experience in 3D scan photogrammetry, triptop of different materials and surfaces with regard to cultural heritage. So the floor is yours.
Okay, and I'm ready. Okay. Thank you. Okay, it's a pleasure to be here. And my name is Bjarte Aarseth, and I'm working at the Viking Ship Museum in Oslo. I'm a professional woodcarver in the bottom, but have done 3D scanning for the museum full-time, 7.5 hours every day, for the last 5 years. Let me see now. There you have found the Viking ship. I guess you all have been at the Viking Ship Museum in Oslo, so we don't need so much presentation here. But they found the Viking ship in 1904. And this is the most visited museum in Norway. It's over 500,000 people every year. And we are now planning to build a new museum around the old one. And we have also yes, we shall make new exhibits and things like that. And because of that, I'll be working to 3D scan all the objects in the museum. So we have a precise measurements on every object. They have a drawing of the new museum. It will cost a lot of money, and they will, I think it will end in 2022 or something like that. It will be finished. For a new exhibit. And I'm also working for a project called Saving Oseberg. It's for, because of the objects are, it's a lac outside, but it's like sugar inside. And it's really scaring to work with, really scaring. Some of the objects haven't been out for the display since 1950. So it's almost, if you touch it, it's almost dust in your hands. I have my first scanning job. It was in 1996. And it was, the scan was delivered me on a diskette, 3.2 megabyte. And there we have my equipment. I'm working with the treetop. It's, let me see, treetop, yes, up there. It's a coordinate machine, and it gives me really, really high accuracy on the 3D scan. It's down to almost nano level. It's down to 0.005 millimeter. It's under the size of your hair. So if you get this precise measurements on the Viking ship, for example, it's really, really amazing. And we don't use laser scanner because the laser scanner will give one dot in the scale. If you have 1 millimeter, hva heter firkant på? Square, yes. It will give, a laser scanner will give one dot. in this square. And also, if the surface is black, it would maybe need 3.3 millimeter to catch it. And it's really hard for the laser scanner to catch black and maybe shiny surfaces. My scanners are down to 2,400 dots for 1 square millimeter. And it's like a microscope. You can zoom into the scan and you can see everything. And the scanner are also, so I can choose what kind of solution do I want on the scan. For example, there you have a Madonna sculpture, and with 5 million points, it's and 5 million points on 13.5 millimeter, square millimeter, and you can see the difference. But with the coordinate machine, I show you in the first picture, the treetop, the camera. I start to take picture of the object. That's the first thing I do. If I map the picture, and it's an automatic process in the program, if I map the picture into the scan, it's really difficult to see what's high resolution and what is low resolution on the scan. Do you have a new glass? Okay, oh, thank you. Not beside the laptop. Yes, and also the scan we need to get high resolution on the scans because, for example, this one was out of the display in 1950. It was the last time. It's a head post. It's one of our icons in Norway. And down here you have the knife marks. So we can see the tools mark in the objects, and that's also really important. And we can choose if we want the color of the scan, the color of the object in the scan or not in the scan. That you can, and for the program is free. Everyone, also you can download it, and you can choose if you want the color or not the color. And that's really nice for the conservators and my colleagues who are working with the scan, that the program is free. They can do everything with it. They can take measurements, slides, they can do everything. Save it in different file type. But this is dark. Most of the objects are dark or full of, for example, the Oseberg ship of tar. So we have also tested to take photogrammetry of the ship and the objects, but then to get the same resolution, then you need to get really close and you have to build a frame around the ship, for example, to get on that distance, so around 30 centimeters from the surface, to get the same quality. And that's a big job for an object like that, 30 centimeters from the surface, all the way. That's almost impossible. And you will also need a lot of lights because of the surface. Have also tested the Faro scanner, also the Faro scanner, and I can't use the scan to anything. I can see the surface, but the surface is plus 0.1 centimeter or something like that, and it's too much. It's plus minus 1 centimeter. It's almost too much. But there you have the latest scanner. What was the producent again? And that gives a something better than a normal laser scanner. But it's still very bad scan. There I will talk a little bit about these boats. It was in the Gokstad ship. It's from year 900. I start with a treetop camera to take pictures. And I put dots on the ship, on the boat, for the scanner. And it's scale bars here for the camera. And all these dots will go into the program as reference points for the scanner. So then I take picture from all kind of corners, and the picture will be like that around the object. And this is the same way if it's a small object about 1 centimeter object or a big object like that, or bigger. And then when I start scanning, the scanning knows exactly where I am. And the scanner has blue light. The blue light is because it's better to scan an object. It's better for the scanner to catch the surface with blue light. Especially if it's black and shiny, gold, polished silver, steel, things like that. So if it is with white light, it's almost impossible. And there I am with the scanner. And I have also a tool. This one is for an area where I can't reach with the scanner. For example, into the cracks, into the construction. The scanner knows exactly where that one are, where it is. And when I put it into the wood, for example, a crack, I can draw the scan. I can draw the deepness of the crack. I can draw the room into the wood where I can't see it, and I get it into the scan, if you understand. So it's really a nice tool, and I have different sizes on this one, from 1 millimeter up to 5 millimeter or 8 millimeter. It depends on what I shall document. And it's almost like a faro arm. You can draw into the scan. There you have the points. Oh, if you can see it up there, which I have been. And that's because it was so difficult to come under the boat with the scanner. There you have the boat. It's really nice. The next one was this one. Is the third best Viking ship, original Viking ship in the world. I scanned, and it took 1 month. Let me see now if I have a picture of that one, or if no. Here we are over again to the Oseberg ship. And yes, you can see this one is for the camera, for the treetop camera. For the scanning. And it took around 9 days to scan the outside of the ship. And that's down to 0.05 millimeter. And I put also the scanner up into a lift, and I scan it from every angle. Like that. Because you can't You can't see the Viking ship from the side in the museum because the walls are too close to the ship. So we have used the scan a lot for to plan, to make the drawings for the new museum. For what distance do you have to be from the ship for to see the whole ship? So I have printed out the scan of the ship in different scales for to see how far away do we need for to see the whole ship. And also they really important with the scanning project are that you can see the movement of the wood. For example, this one, it's a new scan over a scan we did in 2005. And then you can see here, some part of the ship are coming down, the yellow one coming down. And this is really important for new supports under the ship. And over here, the top is coming through almost 5 millimeter. And for this part here, there has been a tourist and touched that one. So now we are putting a glass wall up here, so no one can touch it. So this one is really a fantastic tool. You can turn it around, you can see it for every angle. And it's down to 0.05 millimeter. And the conservators have it on their computer, so it's really nice. There we have also some part of it. The green is normal. Oops, sorry, I'm going wrong way. There we are. There we are in the museum again. There we are, it's one sled here. And the sled is full of silver nails, the dark wood and silver nails. The Viking put metal in everything, on everything. Silver, gold, so it's really hard to scan. And they start again with a treetop system for to get this, the reference system into the scanner. And I used different size on the dots I put on, from 0.4 millimeter up to 0.8 millimeter. They have take picture from every angle. But this picture will I do map over the sled after when I'm done. There we are again. And you have the scale bars, this one. They are really important for every object. And if I want to take scan a big, like for example, the Oseberg ship, I have bigger scale bars. There we are again. And it's a really, really dangerous sled to work with because it's just sugar, almost. And now I start scanning, and I have to work very slowly because I can't touch it. So I use full day. I use almost 2 months on this sled. And when I'm done, it looks like this. But I haven't mapped the picture over here. There you have the head post again. This is one of our icons in Norway. And I have it down in my lab with the same scale bars and also scanning. And you have a picture around them, around the object. And you have it when it's finished. And I can also send it to a 3D printer when it's like this. I can send it to a 3D printer who print in colors. So I did that, and it was almost 90% like the original. Almost. It was really, really nice. With color, but I prefer to see the object without color, because the color is, and why? It's my concern. I can see more details without colors. And I can take measurements, for example, up here, that one to over here. It's how many? It's 3 millimeter, 0.0 something. And there you have the knife marks. And this is wood. So it is impossible to laser scan it, and it's impossible to take photogrammetry of the object. It's too dark and too shiny. And over here you have gold. And gold is also something very hard to scan. It's really something else. And also, if you want to go closer into the metal, you can go on the surface. It's almost like a microscope. Let me see on this one. Yeah. So this coin is the first coin in the world. It's from the year 640 før Kristus. So to do a job like this with the photogrammetry is really, really hard. And this is also, you can slice it, you can take measurements. It's 9 millimeter. It's not big, it's really, really small. So this one will be in a coin exhibit in Oslo now, in the start of June. So you can go closer. So it's really amazing to have a tool like this. The details. The computer had to think. Okay, now we are inside the Gokstad ship. It's my next job to scan inside of this ship, and it's from year 900, and I will scan it from the outside, and it will take almost 1 month to scan it. Up here, over and under. You could see it on the scan I did earlier that it was too much things inside the ship. It was so we have taken out the deck, and because we could see it on the scan that some part of the ship are coming down. You could see it in the scan with scan it again and again and again, and I could see it that something is going on here. And my next job after that is to scan this Osebergwagen, and that's also a really dangerous project. It's the only wagon from the Viking Age in the world. And this is another job. This is a part of a stavkirke, Urnes stavkirke in Norway from year 1200. And you have a wall up here, a part of a wall up here, with wood carving, and the carving is, you can't see its carving, it's just 3 millimeter deep and full of tar. It's really, if you look at it, you can't see it. And, but if you use the scanner program and put color in the program, then you can see more of the details. So here you can see it's something here and here. So when I put the scan into the 3D program Rhino, Rhino is a really nice program to work with. If you want a 2D drawing from a scan, it's perfect. It's really nice. For a production drawing, it's amazing. It's for curved lines, and you can save it in every formats and things like that. There you can see more details. And it's like a map. So the bottom of the carving is here, the blue. And you can see it, something is going on. And then I can also take away the color. And then I have one screen with a scan, gray, one screen with a scan with color. And then I can see the details. I can zoom out and in, and I can tilt it, and then I can start to draw over it. You can see this over here. And this one is just a little part of the wall. And the wall is full of tar. It's totally black, but original. And then I can end up with a drawing like this. This is just a little part of the wall. The wall is 4.4 meters. And if you have a drawing like this, you can draw it in 3D, also in Rhino. It's really amazing. And you can put on the surface like it was when it was new. Like that. So then it's really difficult for people to see, to understand. Well, it's something up there, but what is it? And then when you have a digital model of it, it's really nice. So this is a scan for the conservators and for the museum for to have a security copy, but also for to put it out on the net. And over here we have 3D scanning of stone. My experience is that if you want to scan stones, then you need to scan with 2,400 points per square millimeter. And then you get all the details in the stone in the scan. Over here you have it. Start with treetop picture. Then scan it. And here I have I've done a combine between photogrammetry and 3D scanning. I have colleagues, they have taken photogrammetry of the stone, of the same stone. And I placed my scanning over the photogrammetry, and I can see the red part is where something happened, but the photogrammetry is not exactly precise. So it has lifted up here almost 1 millimeter. But you can't see, if you have a photogrammetry project, it's impossible for you to see what, it looks great, but if you compare it with a scan, with a light scanner, then you can see it's something happen. But you can do a really good photogrammetry job, but then you need experience. Experience. You need to take a photogrammetry of a lot of things and combine it with a light scanner, scanned object, the same object. Because we did it after with for the second time, and then this photogrammetry people took more picture around the corners of the stone, and where it was happening something, and then you could see that, yes, it was better. So you need experience. This was empty. Yes, how you have the same stone. If you want to draw the details in the stone, you have a really nice, fantastic program. Let me see now. Not that one. It's not that one. It's not that one. There it is. Called ZBrush. Okay, I have mentioned for your Rhino. It's really amazing, and it's cheap. And then you have ZBrush. It's also cheap, but it's really nice. If you want to put colors in the scan. And it will follow the deepness, the curves in the object, what you are carving, what you are painting on. So it's really nice. So this is, you don't need to put paint on these stones outside. Because there we are again. There we have the details, yes. And we can also let me see, we have another movie here. Put the coin, now put this, the stone outside. Like this. For the public. But the most important is to have a really good scan of the object. And you can't scan stones like this with a laser scanner. It's impossible. And there we are. Then all my projects I am putting out on Instagram. So if you are interested, you can just see it. Scanning gold, stone, wood, silver. And with the scan, can you do that? Can you do everything? The scan of the Oseberg ship. You can put it into the Rhino, fold it out like that, and start drawing. So it's, and this is important to have a drawing at the end of the scan. So we use the drawings a lot. When I'm sitting down and I have a look at the scan after I turn the object around, I can see a really nice view of the object which no one haven't seen before, because it's maybe on the wall. It's so from different. You maybe need to climb to see it. So it's because of that, can you make beautiful drawings of the scans of the objects, and you can put color in it, and you can. This one is the most popular. This is on a T-shirt at the Viking Ship Museum, and they sold 100,000 of this last year. So it's, you can get in money on the scanning also. And we are using this drawing on the plastic bags for the museum. And you can also, at the end, when you have good scan, you can, at the end, you can make copies in wood, for example. You can see the original is down here. It's just 2 centimeters. And this one are like masks in big size. I'm done. Huh?
Paldies, tas tiešām bija.
Thank you. It was really impressive. Do we have any questions?
Our background as a craftsman. It's a really, really good thing to have when you're working with things like this. Stone builders, yeah, wood carver, timberman. Yes, okay.
I speak English, it's okay? Latvisk? In the beginning you mentioned the free software. Can you please tell me the name of it?
It's gum.com.
Gum.com.
Yeah, the producent of the...
Can you write it on after?
Yes, I can write it.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's really nice. You can put every kind of file in it. STL, OBJ, yeah. And it's really, really nice. It cost a lot of money for some years ago, but then the company put it out on the net free for everyone.
Sorry, I didn't listen to the beginning of your presentation, but I have a question. My question is, I remember that in the space research, these researchers are able to detect the chemical element of the planet, for example. They can detect if this is like a metal, some kind of metal or something like that. And do you have some kind of scanner which can detect not only the shape, but for example, if we have some kind of artifact which is like a combination of metal and wood, so that this scanning could detect this chemical element, that this is metal, not only the shape, but the, how to say, for example, if I don't know, if there could be like metal particles dispersed across stone, for example, or something like that, that they could detect by some chemical, atomic property,
yes.
something like what is done in the space research. I know that is detected in when researchers are researching space objects.
I understand you, but the scanner is checking the surface and nothing else than the surface. But we are planning to buy a CT scanner for the CT scan also the object.
But you mean that you can, your technologies can detect only the shape,
The
yes?
shape, yes.
Shape only, yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Paldies.
Thank you. So, you can save your questions also for the coffee break. Thanks to Bjarte, that was really interesting. And now we will give floor to next speaker, and she will tell about the Nidaros church, about the methods used for survey of Nidaros Cathedral, and we will have Kristin Björlicke and Øystein Digre. So the floor is yours.
Do you know how I can get the full size? I like to have the full size. This maybe? Maybe. Do you know how to make the full size?
Is it PowerPoint?
No, it's PDF. It should have more opportunities.
What did we put this one?
Okay, try. No, it should be a possibility to make it full size. Should I take my PowerPoint then? I thought it.
Do you have a PowerPoint?
I have a PowerPoint. Shall I?
PowerPoint works here.
Yeah. It would be better to have the full size. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. Okay, that's better. Well, my name is Kristin Björlicke. I'm a senior advisor and the former manager for survey projects at the restoration workshop of Nidaros Cathedral in Trondheim. and I have been asked to say something about our experience with the various digital surveys and documentation methods. I am not an expert on the technology behind the different methods, so I cannot provide you such information, but I have followed the development from a user perspective. Over time, I had a lot of hope for what we could achieve from the technology, but I realized that many challenges are still unsolved. Perhaps the dialogue at this seminar can take us a step further. 20 years ago, I performed manual drawings and drawings for documentation and mapping related to the restoration work. Such a work is very time-consuming on a huge building like the cathedral. And in 1999, I was given the responsibility for a project to investigate new methods to help a more time-efficient survey of a large and complex building construction. We have tried different methods of surveying, not only to find an optimal overall method, but also to investigate which method are more suitable than others for different purposes and needs. Our main focus has been to find methods which can be used to plan and document restoration work and for research. Some of the methods have primarily been tested as research projects and are not integrated as daily tools. At the beginning of the restoration, from the 1860s, documentation of the old masonry through drawings was an important part of the work. During the early building archaeological investigations, the findings were carefully documented and puzzled together with drawings, and used as basis for the reconstruction of the destroyed part of the cathedral. Through the 20th century, when reconstruction work was in focus, the drawings became more as engineering designs, and as-built drawings was no longer made. In 1969, the reconstruction work ended, and since then, very little documentation was done. During that time, the need for new drawings was no longer necessary until the need for conservation effort was required. In 1998, a master plan for the restoration of the cathedral was made. The plan was the basis for support from the EU research program RAFAEL to investigate appropriate methods for the work, and into the 2 subsequent years, we conducted several preliminary projects with investigations in various areas that were central to the restoration. This would provide us with the necessary experience to choose the best possible solutions and methods for the further restoration work. One of the sub-projects was survey. The plan set general guidelines and methodologies for restoration work based on a practice we already established and implemented through a restoration mission from 1997 till 1999 at Stavanger Cathedral, a medieval building southwest of Norway. The methodology placed survey of the building as the first step into any restoration process. The survey was to be used for several purposes: as a documentation itself and as a basis for thematic maps showing such as the state of condition, stone types, building history, plans for restoration, etc. The survey of the east facade of Stavanger Cathedral, which you can see to the left, was at that time done manually with the use of paper, pencil, and measuring tape. Every single stone was measured. The facade measured 20 by 20 meters, and it took me and my colleague about 3 months to complete it. In addition to the drawing of the facade, we needed to associate information with specific building stones and areas of the map. And a simple kind of database was created in the PDF, providing a link between the object in the drawing and an information box. Using the same principle by establishing a link between a drawing or a 3D model and a database is still something we strive to realize. Nidaros Cathedral is the largest and most complex of Norway's historic stone churches. There is no doubt that the scale and complexity poses challenges in the term of survey. In order to obtain surveys to the demanded extent, we realized we could no longer exclusively stick to manual methods. We had to look for alternatives. From the very beginning, we have worked with other professionals competent to produce the basic surveys. Our own contribution has been to process them for our special needs. The first step were to establish a three-dimensional coordinate system inside and around the entire cathedral. At this stage, we were unsure of which method to use, whether we would use different methods in combination, or even if the technology would develop quickly and change our preconditions. The idea was that the coordinate system should act as a framework that to all subsequent surveys should relate. With a common reference system, we made sure that the various measurements were placed correctly and in the right position to each other. This was particularly important because of the building size and the risk that the survey might go over a longer period. Our coordinate system consists of 6 reference points with unhindered lines of sight around the cathedral. And through 3 of the portals, they are linked together with 29 reference marks inside. Inside, we reused a selection of older marks from a previous survey of the floor plan back to 1940. When we started the pre-projects for the restoration plan, we had a key question we had to answer. Is the building construction stable? Cracks in both the walls and the walls in the chancel indicated movements. A supporting construction had been established on the loft a few years earlier, but we were not sure whether it was sufficient. A structural engineer completed an analysis of the construction, but in order to do his job, he was dependent on a survey of a vertical section of the building. This was one of the first digital surveys we made. To measure the vertical section, a total station was used, measuring 1 and 1 point for each 30 centimeter in a vertical section inside and outside. In AutoCAD, lines were drawn between the points and gave a profile of the building. The engineer performed structural calculations of the chancel, including the impact of wind forces on roof surfaces and wall constructions. Another need was facade drawings to be used as basis for different thematic maps. Photogrammetry was, up to a couple of years ago, the most used survey method of on the cathedral. And the drawings made from this is what we have used most actively as tools in the restoration work. Photogrammetry is a three-dimensional survey method based on the use of photographs. The images were processed in a photogrammetric workstation used as a basis for drawings. The result became a more or less three-dimensional line drawing. These drawings were provided as CAD drawings. The first photogrammetric survey on a larger scale were performed in 2000 to 2001. The majority of the chancel, except the northern facade, was surveyed outside and inside. These drawings were a kind of mix between 2 and 3D drawings. In the heritage field, it was not very common to operate 3D drawings at this time, so the drawings were designed in a view of the fact that the result would be printed out on paper. The drawings were made as different plans, sections, and facades. Surveying the northern facade of the chancel in 2006, we went a step further with the 3D. To a certain extent, the 2D drawings worked well, but the drawback is the many sets of drawings to keep updated. The idea with the full 3D was to build a wireframe model on of the entire cathedral and work with mappings and updates in one single model instead of having many separate drawings to keep track of. The northern facade of the chancel measures about 600 square meters. 600 photographs were taken during the fieldwork, and 360 of them were used in the construction. This is a section of the photogrammetric survey on the northern facade of the chancel. You can see the various architectural elements divided into different layers in the drawing, represented in different colors. A great benefit with digital drawings is the opportunity to organize all possible information and themes in layer structures. The ability to organize information in layers is an advantage in managing and documenting a restoration process, but it is also a great help when analyzing the masonry. The layer structure makes it possible to turn on and off various themes to decide how much information should be exposed at the same time. Too much information at once often makes it difficult to observe important features. An example is a discovery I made while working on a CAD drawing of the screen wall in the chancel. I was making a map of the joints in the masonry. To the left, you see the upper part of the screen wall. It is highly decorated. To the right, you see a map of the pure masonry joints in the same area. By studying the joint structure, it's possible to observe symmetry in the shape of the stones around the central axis, which is rather uncommon in this building. The similar colors marks the mirrored stone on each side of the axis. It was questioned what could be the reason for this. Some proposed whether it was a kind of locking system in the masonry structure. By turning on the layers again, showing the details, it's possible to observe that the outer shape of the stone is largely 90 degrees on the direction of the profiles in the decorations, which is optimal when it comes to the carving of the stone. Probably our predecessors had chosen to make a more complicated outer shape of the stone to provide a simpler basis for carving the decorations. It is very difficult to make such observations without the ability to bring information in and out of the picture. Another example on how the photogrammetry-based CAD drawings are used is an ongoing restoration project on one of the portals of the cathedral, the King's Entrance. The portal has recently been dismantled completely to the ground to be rebuilt. In the drawing to the right, you see stones in the masonry having different colored codes. These represent various states of the condition, such as which stone is going to be reused, repaired, or cut new. Since about 2,000 stones were to be dismantled, there was also a need for a stone map. Here, all the joints in the masonry are marked, and each stone has its unique number. This is how to keep track of where the stones belongs for the rebuilding. Once the base drawing is made, different themes or layers of information can be shown or hidden as needed. In addition to the drawing, we have created our own custom design database, for which my colleague Øystein, who will give a presentation after me, deserves the main credit. The database is adapted to both PC, pads, and cell phone, making it possible to use a phone or pad as a registration tool in the field. The units are connected via wireless networks, and new information in the database is immediately updated. Each stone in the masonry has its own page in the database where the information is entered, and all involved professionals works in the same database recording the information. We can inform ourselves about what stone we are dealing with, plans for the action, where it is stored, the size, stages in the production process, history, photos, and much more. I have a wish that we could succeed in creating a link between the database and the measured drawing, or a 3D model, which gives access to the database by clicking the stone number in the drawing and vice versa. Unfortunately, this is not realized yet, but hopefully it will be. Laser scanning was first tested in 2001 in a research project in cooperation with the Norwegian University of Science and Technology, and the King's Entrance was scanned. The purpose was not only to document the geometry of the surface by creating a point cloud, but also to try to find shortcuts to structural analysis of constructions. The test was to find out whether the point cloud could be used for faster creation of a finite element model, which is needed for the analysis. In addition, it was interesting to see whether the scan could be reused as a basis for constructing line drawings, similar to those from the photogrammetry. It would have been a great gain if laser scanning could prove useful as a common method of achieving both a 3D model of the building, CAD drawings to create thematic maps, basis for structural analysis, and accurate measured data to create precise models of sculpture and other details. The point cloud gave a good impression of the volumes in the building, but unfortunately it did not distinguish the joints from the stone. Because of this, it was not suitable as a basis for making line drawings. Higher density between the points would provide a better picture, but it made the data files too huge for the computer capacity. In 2009, new tests were carried out with another type of scanner on the chapter house of the cathedral. This gave better results when it comes to distinguish stones and joints. On the right side, you see a three-dimensional line drawing based on the point cloud on the left side. Our traditional method of documenting sculpture on the cathedral has been to make castings from plaster. We had a collection of 4,000 plaster copies that unfortunately were destroyed in a fire in 1983. We are in the process of building up the collection again and have reached around 1,000 copies. It is a problem that some of the sculpture have become so fragile that they are no longer can take traditional castings. This has highlighted the need to find alternative methods. Based on this situation, in 2004, we tested photo scanning as a method for documenting details, where we want a particularly high level of accuracy. We scanned sculpture into three-dimensional data models with higher than 1/10 of a millimeter accuracy. The survey of the figure was done using a three-dimensional light scanner. It consists of a powerful light source projecting a grid on the sculpture, as well as 2 high-resolution digital cameras. The cameras recorded the light grid as 2-dimensional points. The light grid projected on the surface bended due to the curvature on the sculpture. The 2-dimensional reading of the curvature, together with the complex mathematical formulas, form the basis for the convention of points in the plan to the spatial points. Using stereolithography, the digital model could be printed out as a physical 3D model. The printout could also be scaled, like this model of the fiddler, printed in the size of 1:5. Finally, I would like to mention a EU-funded research project we have participated in together with the Norwegian University of Science and Technology, the University of Athens, and of Constance. The aim was to develop a data software able to puzzle pieces of broken objects. The fragments were scanned and the software connected surfaces that matched. Thus, the technology can be used to reconstruct all parts of the cathedral. Given we have a storehouse of several thousand stone fragments from the medieval cathedral, it would be of great benefit if this method could help us reconstructing hidden sides of the building history. Over the last few years, we have scanned the entire cathedral. We have the point clouds and can use them as basis for models and drawings. The challenge is to create a model containing both the overview of the cathedral and the detail in one model. We face the same problem as always, namely extremely large data files. Times has not solved this problem yet. Some think it's just a matter of time before file size is no longer a problem. Others are keen to find technical solutions for the problem in the meantime. Perhaps experience from this seminar will point out a possible way forward. Thank you for your attention.
Paldies.
Thank you very much. Do we go on or do we take coffee break?
Jag tar det.
How do I get it in full screen?
It's the same problem.
Yeah.
Kāpēc viņš nelasa viņu? Kad tas ir cits rīters. This one?
Yeah.
This one? Šitas, jā.
Yeah.
A, kas ir tas open with PDF complete? Kas tas tāds ir? Tā nav nekas. It's a different reader than you have. No, dobra tā versija.
I do have it in
You have it in PowerPoint as well?
I have it in PowerPoint.
Then I guess we
You
have
want?
to use it.
No. No, I don't know how to.
What does he say?
It says I have to format the disk, but I don't really want to do that.
Okay,
It's,
then we have to use a PDF you have.
okay.
Great.
Okay.
But,
Yeah. You see anyway. It's,
how do you go? Oh no, you just...
on to the next one. How there?
Oh, you have to move this.
Okay.
I can hear. Okay, so it's like that.
Okay. And I can maybe do like this. Okay. Yeah. So it will be. Yes. Thanks for the invitation to this seminar workshop. I'm Øystein Digre. I'm a colleague of Kristin at Nidaros Cathedral. I'm a former stone carver, currently doing stone conservation and developing custom-made mobile databases for the processes in our workshops and for documentations projects. I recently started exploring the potential uses of photo scanning in different crafts and research, only for 3 weeks ago, so I'm quite new into this subject. This talk will focus on ideas I have for how photo scans can improve and further streamline the daily work at our workshop. Points. When making a sculpture in stone, I sometimes use a pointing machine. It's a measuring tool for copying coordinates from a model to a stone. Usually I carve 3 points into the stone, and then I'm sure that the polygon in between is safe to carve away. These points and their connecting lines that makes these polygons are the reason we are here in Riga. First, templates. In Trondheim we have an old school CAD workshop. We have a full-scale drawing of the building parts we are working on. From this drawing we make templates. You know, each and every stone has at least 6 neighbors. You have the stone and you have 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, and one on each side. If you get a stone with arches in different directions, we have experienced up to 16 neighbor stones. When the joints are 3 millimeters, you can understand the importance of clever people doing templates. Everything has to be almost perfect. One of the most difficult things to reconstruct is the profiles of arches, especially the Gothic ones with many center points. Then every stone has different profiles on both sides. This I do not have time to explain any further. But there are many ways to do the craft of templates, and I just tried photogrammetry to see how it can take part in this process. Here you see some of the tools we traditionally use. The process usually takes time, and several measurements have to be made to cross-check the results. On this photo scan we see on the bottom a typical profile. I made 20 photos with my glossy iPhone to create this model. These dots are the camera positions that the software is measuring. Here is a slice of the profile, and then the outline is actually ready. I've checked it against traditional methods, and it's extremely accurate. It even has some great benefits in addition to its simplicity. For example, when there are parts missing and no complete sections along the profile, we can stitch together the original outline by comparing different sections in the scan. It's easy, fast, and really helpful. Stonemason marks. We have about 10,000 of them on Nidaros Cathedral. They have a great potential to give us lots of historical information. They can sometimes be hard to find because of weathering over time. Luckily, it's always been a tradition to make these holes at the ends and where the line is crossing. sometimes it's only holes left, but with a stonemason marks database, we can identify the holes, just like we are looking for constellation in outer space, in a way. But we have just started photo scanning walls to look for these marks. Hopefully we can, with the newest camera drones, with so-called obstacle avoidance systems, get so close to the walls in the height without any safety problems or any danger for the building. Traditionally, we need scaffolding and use flashlights from different angles to find these marks. In 3D, with all its different textures, X-ray views, dense point clouds, and even when aiming, yeah, maybe you don't see it too good on this screen, but yeah, when aiming at the horizon from the back side of the 3D model, hidden lines and holes comes to life. Documentation. We have, as Kristin showed some photos of, we have a plaster workshop at Nidaros. Among many work tasks, they do documentation of sculptures and details of stone in plaster. It's a lot of work to make a good one. And we don't touch the medieval ones or weathered stone that might be hurt by mechanical copying. First, to make these copies, we first make a silicone layer to catch all the details, and then a plaster form in many pieces to hold the silicone steady when later casting. And we just started a project to find good ways to do this with photogrammetry. And I need to talk more with you, Dr. Aarseth, about these things. Yeah, and it's something I call a metadata mesh. As I mentioned, I'm making custom database applications. Every kind of information that is thrown into my databases is connected to one or more numbers. In my colleague's Kristin's number system, as you show. Connecting data to data in a geo-reference system is a really useful way of sorting information. I think in the future we can do this in an even more convenient way than with numbers and drawings. A polygon mesh can be a base map layer for a database where we can mark small observations and bigger parts of the building. This number has lots of coordinates from the mesh that could be a part of its metadata. And for example, a stonemason mark could have its own coordinates inside this stone. Or we could add coordinates to, example, a scanned historical photo in a database. In the archives by marking the areas that we see on the photos. This photo is from before the restoration started in 1869, so it's a quite new church. The most of it is. Or the other way, we could mark an area to get all the information about it and look at all photos connected to the polygons. just like an online map when we zoom inside it. And what if we imagine giving coordinates to a condition assessment or photos or historical data of example, this sculpture. And what if we take the mesh model and tie it to the real reality? This technology, augmented reality, is like the new thing coming all over the digital world. Everything, basically everything around us can act as a tracker for information we tie to it. A building can act as a three-dimensional tracker for a mesh of the same building. And we can, in the field, mark objects in real time to add knowledge. It maybe sound a little futuristic, but I think this is a very real possibility. And if you know anyone who can figure out how to make a connection from a mesh to a database, please let me know that. Thanks for listening.